right. Good afternoon, everyone. It's Tuesday, and we're here with Hector Garcia. Oh my gosh, we have all things QuickBooks, all things Right Tool here joining us today, and we're so happy to have him. I'm not going to talk anymore. We're just going to jump right into
Okay,
it.
jump right in. We are so thrilled you're here. I mean, it's kind of like having a superstar. Well, it is, has a superstar here. You are like the guru of QuickBooks, the YouTube champion, everything you do. I'm just, both of us, I can't speak. I'm so honored that you are here. So I'm going to start with some questions for you.
Sure.
We want to know who inspires you? How do you get, what inspires you to do this every day, personally and professionally?
Yeah. First of all, I'm thrilled to be here too. You both know I love you guys, and we chat all the time. And Deborah, we have a special relationship because you're part of the ReFrame Society as well, and you're gonna be a table coach at ReFrame. And Donna, I think ever since the pandemic and the clubhouse days, um, we have chatted quite a bit, and and Donna and I are always talking shop about QuickBooks and stuff like that. So, you guys are both people that I admire, and you guys are doing a great job, not just building relationship with each other, but creating a platform for other accountants and bookkeepers to come hang out and just talk. I'm not sure what on fire means. I'm not sure if it's like,
Well, we thought it was catchy.
oh, okay, okay, all right,
That's
all right.
all.
I'm not on fire.
Yeah, super
I'm not on
simple.
fire. Yeah. Yeah. So in terms of what inspires me, I would say that one of the things one of the things so some I find inspiration in all sorts of trivial places. I do little league coaching for my kids. I've done it since just after the pandemic. And one of the years, one of the assistant coaches I had, or maybe he was a main coach and I was assistant coach, I don't remember. I met him, super nice, and I asked him, "Hey, which one's your kid?" And then he points at it, but he says, "Grandkid." And at that moment, I was like, well, first of all, the guy looked great. I would never had guessed that he was a grandfather. But I was like, man, it is truly such an honor to be able to coach my kids Little League. And what honor would be to take it one step level, to be physically and mentally prepared and ready to also be able to do this as a granddad. So one of the things that inspires me is the prospect of 25 years from now. I don't know. Well, no. Yeah, maybe. No, I would say maybe 10 years from now, my daughter could possibly have a kid that could start playing some sort of sport, and I would have the honor to be able to coach them. So, one of the things that inspires me is that prospect, that idea of me staying healthy mentally and physically to be able to do that, and also have enough financial success that I'm able to do that. Because I think a lot of people want to do that, but their work and their schedule doesn't allow them to do that. So like having ability to do that, having access to do that is probably the biggest encouragement for me financially. So anything that I do, any profit motive that I look for, really is, can I buy myself some time so I can spend with my kids doing what I want to do. Now intellectually, I also find inspiration from all sorts of places. We have a common hero, which is Ron Baker. Ron Baker has challenged my thinking in many, many ways. I would say 9 times out of 10, I think is wrong, and then within a month, I realize he was right. And I tell him that, and he likes that. And he likes that, and I like that too because I generally, when you hear an idea and you don't jive with it right away, it's probably an indication that it's a good idea because it's challenging your thinking. It's a good concept in itself. If you agree with something immediately and you're listening to something or reading something and you're agreeing, then you're not challenging your thinking or evolving. So I would like very much listening to people that don't think like me or think a little bit more abstractly, and then kind of have these shocking ways of talking, and then and then making me think through it and go, you know what, there is something to it. I watch a lot of YouTube. Unfortunately, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I do some reading. I'm not a very fast reader, so I have a challenge, reading whole books. There's a handful of books that I get to read. I basically pick maybe 5 books that I can read in a year, full books that I read in a year. But sometimes people recommend to read this book and read that book, and sometimes I'll listen to it, or I'll download a summary, or I'll download a transcript of a video, describing it or something like that, and I throw it in ChatGPT and tell it, hey, I don't have time to read this book, but there's something right now that I'm trying to solve, which I'm trying to solve this particular customer challenge, or this particular coaching challenge, or this particular organizational challenge. Could the concepts of this book or something like that apply to it? And then I have ChatGPT kind of just help me think around that idea. So I do find a lot of inspiration from random sources of good concepts, and try to use the tools that are available to help me think through it. So I've been doing a lot of thinking, and a lot of the inspiration kind of comes from that thinking. My dad also, both my parents, inspired me. They were incredible parents. They are incredible parents. Always encouraged me to be ethical and to do the right thing, and to talk to others and to help others. And I think that's something that's instilled in my DNA. My grandfather, who's in his 90s and still lives, is a person that inspires me too. It's kind of a tearjerker story, his life story, but yeah, I try to keep an open mind of where I can get inspiration from.
Great. I mean, you're. I just wanted to let you talk. Now, when when now, what was the idea that Ron Baker presented that you go, that's not going to work? And then he talked to you that flipped your mind. Can you anything pop in your head? Like, can
Yeah,
you remember?
I think the first idea is when he personally insulted me on stage. And let me explain to you what I mean by that.
Okay.
Okay. So he wasn't talking to me, right? But I felt like he was.
Yeah.
And this was the very first time on stage, probably like 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago at SleaderCon. And I'm listening to him to speak for the first time. And I was tracking time, right? Because there's no other way in the world that I could fathom understanding how long something takes me and how much it should cost if I wasn't
Right.
tracking how long it took me to do some sort of cleanup or implementation job. And then he's in his speech, he's talking about what it means to be a professional, and he says,
Hmm.
and by the way, this 12 years ago, I was my mid 30s, early in my career. I don't have a lot of gray hair. I have a little bit of gray hair now, but I had zero gray hair. And the accounting world it's a world that's very much, especially like the CPA world. I just became a CPA. Is very much run sort of by older people, or the my impression of where reputation and knowledge and experience came from was from a person that didn't look like me, right? So I kind of had like a chip on my shoulder about like
Hmm.
being professional. So I try to like speak very proper, speak slowly, try to be very smart, try to have the facts, try to research, and he's talking about what it means to be a professional, and he says. The definition of a professional is someone that is responsible for delivering a result. Therefore, if as a professional you're focused on tracking time and not delivering a result, by definition, that makes you unprofessional. And I was at that moment in my life where like I was very, very hung up to the timesheet, just because, like I thought measuring time was like the smartest thing in the world. And like I literally felt like he called me unprofessional. I'm like, what the hell is this guy thinking, he calling me unprofessional? And I went and I challenged him, and I said, "Hey, Mr. Baker, nice to meet you. I'm Hector, whatever. I track time, and I'm not unprofessional, And then something like that. And then he's like, "Okay, keep going." And I just kept going. I don't know what I rambled about. And at the very end, I rambled myself into thinking the opposite. I went, you know what? You're right. It's very unprofessional what I'm doing. And then all of a sudden, like my complete worldview changed on that day, because he like dared to sort of like called me unprofessional for focusing on tracking time instead of focusing on delivering a result or an outcome.
So, did you immediately go home and change everything?
I immediately bought the book. I immediately bought his book, and I studied and read it, and I emailed them and I said, "What about this? What about that?" And surprisingly, he answered every single one of
He's
them.
the nicest guy, isn't
Incredible,
he?
incredible. It's just
Incredible. I mean,
open. I think he truly, truly wants to help
he does.
a person that wants to be helped. Yeah,
Yes.
like if you are being super hard-headed and close-minded, he'll probably brush you off fairly quickly. But like if you're putting up good arguments, but the intent is I want to change my mind, he will go through and help you through that thinking.
Right.
So yeah, so I developed a friendship with him over time, and almost any time I have an idea conceptually, tell him, "What do you think about this? What do you think about this? What do you think about that?" And he almost always I think he always gives me some sort of feedback. And the combination was, it was my honor was to build a conference around the concept of his latest book, and that's where kind of ReFrame was born. Like, it wasn't even called ReFrame then; it was called Creative Business Models for Accountants, and it was like, can we get this concept of the subscription business model applied to accounting firms, but let's not think of it in the same way that we think of our services now. Let's think of them as another brand doing accounting. So what if Rolex were to get in the accounting business? How would they offer a subscription service? What if Nike were to do that? Disney, Starbucks. I think you were there, Deb.
Oh yeah. Yep. It was great.
So like that's where Reframe was born. Like, at the beginning, it wasn't even going to be an annual conference type of thing. It was more like, can I build a conference around honoring this person that has helped me reshape my thinking, and then I brought a couple other people to help out, and then that year it was just so amazing. That year, that first Reframe, it just was such a great feeling. Everybody was feeling the energy, and everybody was like, "Of course, we're doing this next year, right? What does next year look like?" So then we had to give it a name. Like, it can't be Creative Business Models for Accountants every year. So the other speaker, Chris Doe, came to us and said, and I draw a lot of inspiration from him too. He's like, you got to think of a catchy name. You can't put that on a tweet. Hashtag Creative Business Models for Accountants. That doesn't work. Well, CBMA. They're like, no, Hector, you have to think about a different name. I'm like, I can't think of one. I think this name is good. And he's like, no, it has to. Okay, Hector, let's workshop this. What are you trying to do? I'm like, I'm trying to get people to be different. Okay, let's develop more. How are they being different? Well, they think of the business model differently. But how are they differentiating themselves? Well, they're communicating it differently, or they're packaging it different. Yeah, but how are they doing it? Well, they're reframing what they do. And then he's like, what? Repeat that. I'm like, reframing? That's the name. That's what you call it. You call this entire conference and movement and idea and concept reframe, and you use the word reframe as much as possible, and this is what you're doing. You are not changing how accounting works, you're changing how people look at accounting.
Right, which is great.
Yeah,
and,
which is
and
great.
at your conference in November, Ron Baker's going to be there, and Chris Doe's going to be there.
Yeah, Chris Doe has been there. He's been the consistent one all through years. Ron was there in year one. He wasn't there last year. He's there this year. So,
and we have another guest that's going to be there. Who's that?
We have two new guests. We have Trisha Browers, who was one of our table coaches last year, and she was like one of the most mentioned by name in the feedback form, saying, "Oh, Trisha was great. Trisha helped me. Trisha this." So we're like, you know what? Let's, if she was named so many times in the feedback forms, that's an indication that people want more of that. So we talked to her and say, hey, these are the themes. Is a concept that you can talk about? He's like, oh yeah, I think I have an idea around it, and we workshopped that, and she's going to have a really awesome presentation around building confidence, which was kind of the missing link, because Ron already kind of exudes confidence, and Carlos and I kind of exude confidence, and the other speaker is like a diva, so complete confidence. So we wanted someone that could really touch our hearts and talk to that place that that identifies us as real human beings, little kids that are lost, that don't know what's going on. Get in touch with that part of us, so we can unlock how to give ourselves self-confidence without the need of some external vehicle, right? So she's going to be amazing. And then we have another author. His name is Blair Enns, and he's written 3 books. One is called The Win Without Pitching Manifesto, a book that I love. He talks about like a set of rules and behaviors that the people in his target industry, which are like marketing consultants, advertising executives, marketing firms, that sort of thing, how they should behave to be different. Then he wrote a book called Pricing Creativity, which is a play on 2 things. One is how to price creativity being a super abstract thing, very difficult to price, and also getting creative with your pricing models. And that book is amazing. I have it right here. It's a great book. It has a lot of awesome concepts around how to price creatively and how to price abstract things like creativity, which I think, by the way, in accounting, consulting and advisory is the creativity side, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
it's
Yeah.
the abstract
Yeah.
side of what we do, and that's the hardest thing to price, right? Like it's easy for us to price 10 bank accounts and 2 credit card accounts and 2 years of tax returns. Like we're very good at pricing things that we can count, but we're not
Well,
very
we're
good at
accountants.
right. Exactly.
It's in the
We're
name.
yeah, we are innately built that a dollar amount at the end should be a result of some for Excel type of formula where you take from this, multiply it like this. Like in our minds, pricing should also always be tied to something tangible. But when you give advisory, which is pretty abstract, right? Then we have a tough time there. So I think that he's really good fit for that because he could sort of give us some ideas around that. And then his latest book is called The Four Conversations, which talks about the value conversation specifically, which is like the most tangible skill that all accounting pros can have, which is how do you talk about the value you create, not the work that you're doing, so you can attach a price or a package to that.
Right.
So those are the three speakers that are going to be coming to ReFrame. So I'm super excited about all three of them.
Me too. I
Yeah.
can't wait. I can't actually wait. I can't wait to meet Blair Enns in person because I've
Yeah.
read all his books and I
There you
just
go.
love the vendor versus expert.
Yes.
To me, that's, and I think the confidence thing is what a lot of us lack. Oh, I
Yes.
can't do that. Oh, there's no way I could do that. No one wants I mean, and I play that in my head a lot, try to combat it. So I'm excited to hear what she has to say too.
Yeah, I think confidence goes both ways. Like you could be super self-confident, that you can do something, but if your customer doesn't trust that you can do it, then it doesn't work. So
Right.
confidence is actually a two-way street. One is, how confident are you in your capacity and
Right.
confident are you in the value that you create? And also in parallel, how much confidence do you exude so the customer in itself is not so much fed by your confidence by saying, oh, because they're confident, therefore they can do it. More like you inspiring them to also have the self-confidence to look at the world in the same point of view that you look at it, right? Because
Right.
most customers come in with their own point of view, and it almost always sounds like this. I did half the work in bank feeds, so it should be really quick. It's only 20 transactions, so it should be really quick. It's only 3 months that hasn't been reconciled, so it's very quick. So they come with a point of view that the work that you're gonna do is some minute thing. Therefore, and by the way, they don't say this, but it's read between the lines. Therefore, it should be really cheap, really quick,
Yes.
and I don't need you to think too
Yeah.
much about it. I just need a pair of hands to come in really quickly and leave, right? And that's the point of view that they come in. And the point that we come in with an entirely different point of view, which is, Mr. Customer, thank you for doing the work, but most likely the work you did is wrong. We have to figure out a way to say that without putting them down. And it could be duplicate, or it could be erroneous, or it could be something that I have to double check. And it could be useful, partially useful, but useful in some other context where you have to like kind of print what you did and then use it contextually to redo it from scratch, type of stuff. Like that's so difficult to portray. So we come in with this entirely different point of view that the customer doesn't have, and then all of a sudden they were very confident about their idea, and then what we're doing in order to give them our idea is to shatter their confidence. So I think that the happy medium somewhere is by us being confident in ourselves and our ability, but figuring out a way to also boost our customers' confidence up in taking the risk of something that's unknown, which is working with you in a way that wasn't the same exact way that they expected in their self-diagnosis.
Right. I like to tell stories when I get a client like that. I said, well, that's like you had a vision to build a house. And you thought, how hard could it be? I'm going to get some wood and some nails and some sheetrock. And you start to do, I don't have time to finish this out. So you say, Debbie, come in and finish my house. And I look in and I go, oh, this house isn't going to stand, a big bad wolf's going to come and blow it down. I said, but I like your vision. So I would say, I really like your vision. I see where you're going, but I want to you want to build this palace. That's my job. Let me help that happen. That's I like telling stories to illustrate the point. And what do you think of that? Is that a good idea?
I think that's always a great idea. I think we connect. I mean, why people like there was there was a movie called this. I think it was The Invention of Lying. I don't know if you ever seen that movie. It's a great. The movie was okay, but it's a great premise. And basically, it was an alternate world where no one could lie. Like everybody's just telling the truth. So there was no such thing as movies or stories, right? Like when you turn the TV on, it was basically history, right? Because
Yeah.
there's no lying, there's no fiction, right? And then the movie itself goes into this concept where one of the characters figures out how to lie, and so you follow a character, the only person that can lie in a world where nobody can lie. So the concept of the when you see that, you're like, that's like you would almost think that a world where nobody can lie is kind of awesome. Like would it, like you think it's awesome, but when you look at the movie, you're like, you know what? Fiction is a very important piece of it. And like I said, with the customer story, sometimes the stories could be something that really happened. Sometimes it's anecdotal, like this makes sense that this would happen, or it's kind of an amalgamation of multiple customer stories into like one story that sounds like a use case that the customer can connect with. Or and sometimes it's just complete fiction. It's imagine that, like you say, imagine that you're going to build a house. But I think without fiction, and like I said, it's not lying, but without fiction,
Right.
without storytelling, we don't connect that piece of our brain that's creative. It's a piece of our brain that is inspired, that can dream, that can think of things that are not tangible in front of you, but they're possible. They're possibilities. Okay, and the stories allow us to do that. Like movies would be so boring if they would all be just history, right? I mean, I'm sure there's movies that are, historically accurate and stuff like that. But I'm saying, fiction, storytelling, ideation, inspiration, that's what makes us different than the computers. That's what makes us human. So I
Right.
absolutely like the idea of using stories in any way. Now, I think it could turn the other way. Like people can be like, "Oh my God, again, Debbie and one of her stories." Like that could happen. I could totally go for that.
Now, if they had to tell me the truth, they would tell me that. But I just keep going on.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And you know what? And some people are just really damn good storytellers. I think when you look at like comedians, for example, some comedians are funny, just the delivery is funny. But if you look at like the comedians that are really, really awesome that you can watch a whole hour, hour and a half, it's because they're really good at telling the story. It's like even the story itself doesn't have to be funny. It's just the details that you choose to tell about the story and the cadence and the stop and waiting for someone to kind of build what's about to happen and then all of a sudden tell them something that they wasn't expecting.
Right.
Is this storytelling captivates people, and I think as accountants we were never taught how to do that, right? And mostly it's because accountants are supposed to be honest and transparent and ethical and all that stuff, and because of that, our training is we're just there to tell it like it is, right? And
Right.
that's kind of our training. We're there to tell it like it is. We're there to tell what happened with the history and telling what went wrong and whatever. Like that's so like we have this brand of just like boring storytelling pessimists,
Yep.
right? And I think that skill of being able to tell a story about what you're doing and the possibilities of what you can do with the work that I'm doing could really help the customer think in beyond the effort itself, beyond the hey, it should just be 2 months, should just be three accounts. In order to break that paradigm, we have to insert storytelling for sure.
Because I think I mean, when customers or clients focus on the transactional data versus what the transactions mean, that to me is the difference. And I
Right.
talk about that when I'm talking to a new prospect. I said, all day long, you think I'm sitting here doing this. I said, I know what, I said, many people can read French Romance. I can read, I'm hearing feedback. Is that me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're getting feedback on it.
Okay. I said, well, I'm good at reading financial statements, and like other people are good at reading French romance novels.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, it's a good connection. I mean, but you know what you said, that is the customers that come with that perspective, and that's true. But that's because of years and years, probably
yes.
a century of us training them wrong.
Yes, I do. I don't
Yes.
believe it's their fault. We need to change.
We messed it up, right?
We need to stop thinking in transactional data and hours. And I always tell people when they come into the office, I go, "Well, why are you here?" "Well, I don't want to pay the income tax." I go, "Well, then just close your doors."
Right.
I
Right.
said, "My goal is to have you write a big fat check at the end of the year. That means you made money."
Right, exactly. I agree with
You
you,
know,
and
so you
and
have
that,
to.
that's a story that people want to tell. Like you're writing the check on the way to the airport to France to take a 2 month trip, right?
Exactly.
Because you're there to enjoy the fruits of your labor, right? You
Exactly.
have to connect it with that, the story of the stuff that matters to them.
Exactly.
But I mean, think about industries that don't do what we do. Like medical industry is a good example. Like doctors, doctors pride themselves that they, and most of them, obviously there's bad doctors too, but most doctors is, we a prescription with a diagnosis is malpractice. Like that's something that
Right.
they say, that's a mantra, right? That means that I cannot fix you before I diagnose you. Okay, this is why most of us, even if we go to WebMD or ChatGPT and upload a picture of a rash or whatever, which I've done that by the way, and walk in with the doctor with a self-diagnosis, the doctor doesn't go, "Good job self-diagnosing. Let me give you the prescription for this self-diagnosis." They always say, "Hold on a second. Let's go back. Let's take a look at it." And the best doctors look at it holistically. They just don't look at the rash. They
Right.
ask you what you were doing, what do you like to do, what kind of clothing you wear, like kind of just discover a lot of stuff about you to figure out, it's not just a direct effect of you touching something. It's a direct effect of a lifestyle choice, or the way you act or the way you are or the people you hang out with. So I think that that's something that we need to learn. We need to pick up from the page of the medical industry, which is, that we're not a pair of hands, that we will diagnose before we prescribe. And then the prescription could be us not working with you. And I
Right.
think that a lot of accounting professionals fail at that because they look at the customer and they go, "Is he breathing? Does he have a checkbook? Yep,
Right.
that's a good customer, right?"
Yes.
So I think if we were a little bit more discerning and be like, that is not an area specialty that I work on. Let's work with somebody from my network. Just like doctors, like a doctor, I go with my doctor with some problem with my eyesight. He goes, "Yeah, let's go see an ophthalmologist. Let's go." So like I think they do a really good job at that, and we don't, because we don't have this sort of like pre-set up specialties, right? Like an accountant is an accountant, and they're supposed to
Right.
do all sorts of accounting, and then we need to self-select and self-group and self-create this network of expertise around us, so we can successfully do that and be okay with telling the customer, "Yeah, that sounds like a problem that I can't fix. Therefore, let's get you somewhere else."
Right. I think there's so many things that go into running a practice and pricing and all of that. It's not just opening up your doors and, I can write things in a checkbook, so I guess I can be an accountant. No, there's so much to it. How to keep a customer, make them happy, transform them. Now, has that changed how you price with Ron's now transformation pricing?
Yeah. Right now, I've so there's two ways to look at it. So one is the work that you do has some sort of desired outcome. Most desired outcomes that the customers can tell you are a mixture between tangible and intangible, right? So as accountants, generally our focus is on the tangible stuff, the stuff that we can measure on some sort of report in QuickBooks, right? So if the customer gives me a list of all the things that they want to be and they aspire to be, if I can't directly go, there's a report for that in QuickBooks, I'm just like programmed to ignore it. Like this is not something that I can look at because I don't control it, because I can't look at it, because there's absolutely nothing in my training and my day-to-day work that can help me achieve that. Because it's not a drop-down menu in QuickBooks somewhere where I can select that thing that I can show the customer that I helped them get there. So we are almost that our customers' transformational desires are actually invisible to us, even when they tell us, because we're pre-programmed not to hear them. Okay, so what runs challenging my thinking is, what if what the customer wants to do, it's something that you cannot tangible measure on a P&L or a balance sheet,
Right.
but you can draw a connection
Yes.
between you're getting to that result in the P&L on the balance sheet and reframing the customer's problem as solving that piece was an essential stepping stone for you to get to where you wanted to be.
Exactly.
So I'll
You know,
give you an, I'll give
Yep.
you an, ex- I'll give you an example. Okay,
great.
example that's close to my heart because I've recently in the past 2 years lost a lot of weight and changed my lifestyle to a very healthy lifestyle and kind of changed the way I look at my body. If a business owner in the past, any customer of mine, consulting business owner, whoever it is, software company vendor, I don't care, would in passing tell me I need to lose 20 pounds or 30 pounds or 40 pounds, like I would hear, yeah, don't we all? Okay, and then move on and talk about the tangible metric, right? Now with Ron talking about, look, listen, we need to become guides of transformation, right? If someone tells you that they want to lose weight and accounting work has nothing to do with helping somebody lose weight, you can absolutely draw a connection to it, right? So yeah, I can tell a fellow business owner, I go, I remember as a business owner, the hardest thing for me was to find time in the morning to go to the gym. Or the hardest thing for me was to afford a healthy chef to come to my house and cook healthy food. Or the hardest thing for me was to duck out at 5 p.m. so I can cook myself and eat with my family instead of eating out. Or leaving the office instead of ordering Uber Eats to order something that's healthy from home. So and it wasn't until I have carved out time, out of my time to do that. And in order to do that, I had to be more profitable per customer. And in order to do that, I had to increase my prices. In order to do that, I had to figure out which customers were dragging my time. In order to do that, I had to figure out which of my employees could take over some of the customer work. So you can start drawing connections to almost everything
Right.
somebody wants to do in life,
Right.
with the way or how successful their business runs. So you can say, look, I can't cook for you or train you in the gym, but what if I was able to create the environment for you to be able to do that? What if I were to enable aspects of your life to be able to do that, right? Give you 2 hours in the morning, give you 2 hours in the afternoon, give you more profitability, give you more peace of mind, give you better sleep. And if I can do that, Mr. Customer, could I be part of the transformational journey? Like I would pay double, triple,
Right.
for any professional service that could also help me achieve that personal, very difficult personal goal, which is, losing weight or reading more or having more friends or spending more time with your family, whatever, or taking more vacations, whatever aspect of your personal life you're trying to transform. I think accounting professionals can absolutely
Absolutely.
reframe
Yes.
their
Yep.
services to be that.
Because you need money to be able to do that. I
Exactly.
mean, because you need to pay your electric bill, whatever. You don't need to be a gazillionaire to do it. I mean, you can live within the bucket of money, which is why I hated the accounting profession, because my dad took the bucket of money he earned as a teacher and educated 4 kids. And I thought, when I got to be a CPA and started working, I thought, this isn't anything like I thought it was. I'm not making a difference in anybody's life like my dad did for us. So when I met Ron prior with the Slames Leader Conference that we were at, where I met him the first time, and I thought, oh my God, this guy puts a label on what I always thought. And then now with the transformational thing, I go, yeah, that's when I talk to my customers. What this means, it's not just a piece of paper with income and expense. It's, what does this mean for your life? That you can now take this profit and enjoy what's important. Because you're right, you have to make the time for what's important to you. So
Right.
if you want to clean your house, vacuum the rugs, it means you can't be servicing a customer. So you pay for good service, and that's what we are. So I do think your ideas are so great, and the people you bring in, we just as accountants need to open our minds to go, yeah, yeah. So that's what ReFrame's all about, right?
And we can't just be accountants. We have to be business owners and entrepreneurs
Yeah,
within our own businesses too,
right.
and think bigger. So my
Think
business
bigger,
owner brain is stronger than my accountant brain, which I
right,
think is what helped me go further and get my businesses built up.
right.
Because that was strong. Because I came in as a business owner first and learned accounting because I got ripped off. Um, and then went to school and learned accounting. So when I jumped in, I was like, why aren't these people? These people are entrepreneurs and business owners too. Why aren't they acting like it?
Right,
And it's like that's where I saw a big difference
right.
when I jumped into the accounting world.
No, I think it helps to model too. Like I think if you're
Yeah.
an accounting professional that has their own firm or a firm owner or whatever, I think you got to be a damn good business owner to also go
Yep.
to your clients and go, hey, you know, I've learned some things along the way, and it's okay to make mistakes and stumble and all that stuff. As a matter of fact, every mistake. This is a really cool thing about being a business owner in the accounting world, is that every mistake you have ever made is a story or an anecdote that becomes a teachable moment, an advisable moment for your customers.
Yeah.
So you almost always have to like go back and create a log of all the things that you've screwed up in the past, and go back and say, I remember when I screwed up with this and how it affected my business. And I didn't get insurance, and I hired the wrong person, and I told my wife this, and I hired my aunt, and I fought with my partner. Like all those little things that happen in your personal life, in your journey as an entrepreneur if you own your own accounting firm or bookkeeping firm, they need to become the stories that you use so you can draw that connection with the customer. Do they all relate exactly to the customer's problem? No, probably not. But the customer will go, oh, we're the same. We're both business owners. And then it makes it much easier to have
Yes.
weird conversations about pricing or scope or delivering something late or making a mistake, because you're connected. You're part of this brotherhood, right? The sisterhood
Right.
of business
You're a
owners.
real person. You're not this
Yeah.
professional on a pedestal with accounting words that nobody can understand. You know, yeah, I think I love telling failures and then how I overcame them,
Yeah.
because we all did. I mean, oh, that happened to you? Yeah. So asking that with that in mind, um, if you could tell your younger self something today, what you know now, what would you tell yourself?
Well, there will be so many, because I've learned so many. I learned so many things along the way. One thing I would obviously hindsight, it's 2020, and you wouldn't know, but I think one thing I would have taught myself is learn a little bit more of the programming, of coding and programming, because at some point, accounting and coding are going to be merged. Okay, like we see software programming as its own thing and its own set of rules, and we see accounting as its own thing and another set of rules. And one thing that has really helped me, both in my software company and also as a consultant to Intuit all the time, is consulting me on, hey, we're thinking about this, we're thinking about that, we're thinking about this, and it's taken me many years to get there, is understanding that software programming and accounting are, at some point, are all going to be one. So I probably would have, from a hard skill perspective, that is absolutely the first thing I would have done. The second thing, from a soft skill perspective, was to prove my expertise by listening and not by talking.
Right.
I've my worldview, and by the way, I'm still working on that. Okay, I haven't fixed
Are
that
we
one.
all?
but I thought for a very, 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 for a very long time, that the more I spoke, the more I could prove my expertise. And it really wasn't until maybe like 3 or 4 years from now, 3 or 4 years ago, when I started working with my brother Carlos, who's more wise with his silence than with his words. And sometimes I'm kind of astonished on how much he can say with so little. And I was like, oh crap! It took me like 100 words to say that thing that it took him 5 words. And mostly it's because he thinks before he says something, so he processes it. Like he turns on the ChatGPT on his head that goes, make this shorter, and maybe lets the other person speak a little longer, so he can gather more evidence or more detail, so he can figure out how to succinctly give an answer. So that's something that I'm continuously trying to work on. It's just trying to be more precise with my words. Most people give me grace, and they love. I mean, they're okay with listening to me for an hour. I mean, that's why I continue to make my very long videos. But if there's one thing I really, really want to achieve or be known for in 5 or 10 years, is a person that has become very, very good at saying a lot with less words.
I think that's great. Well,
Yep.
I don't think that's a goal we really do need from you, because we love when you talk. You learn so much. I mean, I go to your webinars on AI and I go, how does this guy learn this stuff? where do you learn all that you know to teach on AI? Where do you learn what you learn about, like, particularly AI?
I watch a couple. I mean, I watch YouTube videos and I kind of see what's new and what's out there. Like I'm always like I'm listening to podcasts. Like my brain's active
Yeah.
all the time. Until I'm sleeping. Once I'm sleeping, okay, that shuts down for 8 hours. But most of the time, I'm listening to something and and maybe I'm picking up a couple of things in the background and they kind of show up. But I think like all things, like I tell my kids in Little League, practice. It's gotta practice. You gotta practice. So you gotta kind of open ChatGPT and try, and then break, and then ask it
Mhm.
why did it break, and then try again, and then
Right.
go to Claude and say, hey, I tried this in ChatGPT and it broke. Why?
Mhm.
And then Claude will tell you try this. And then once Claude breaks, I go back to ChatGPT and go, I try to do it in Claude. Like I try to play with the stuff as much as possible. And
Are they your two favorites, Claude and ChatGPT? Are they
yeah,
the ones that
yeah,
you use?
Claude, ChatGPT, and Google Gemini. I pay for all three of them.
Do you pay for the big one or just the individual or the team?
For ChatGPT, I'm paying the $200 a month one. Claude, I'm paying the $20 a month one. And Google Gemini, I pay like an extra couple bucks per user as my Google Workspace organization, and everybody from my firm has access to
Have you
Google.
tried Nano Banano?
I've seen videos about it, but
Oh my God. Go
it's
look at
image
some of my
generation.
LinkedIn posts. They were done with Nano Banana.
But they're images, right? Image
They're
creation.
images.
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I
I've
did. In fact, it was funny. Donna said I changed the logo for Bookkeepers, and I was sitting on the Pilates bed in my Pilates studio, getting ready for class, doing it right on my phone. I said, I did it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really cool. It's like cool, you
It's very
know.
cool. The image generation stuff has been less exciting. One thing that worries me about the image generation is how it can create realistic bills
Oh
and
yeah.
receipts.
Oh, yeah.
That stuff kind of worries me for the most part. But like right now, the stuff that interests me the most is creating scripts that can help me fix all the broken things that QuickBooks has. Like I think I spend most of the time just like scouring Reddit and Facebook, all the groups and people complaining about this thing being broken with QuickBooks. And every time I look at it, I'm like, challenge accepted. So I'll go into QuickBooks and go, okay, this is broken. I go into ChatGPT, send it a screenshot, send it the code, the HTML of the page, and go, how can we fix this? And I try to come up with, and many of these things become features in Right Tool in my software. So like that's
Which
the
is
part.
right tool. I mean, right tool.
Yeah, you got the cup.
Got the cup, man. It's my favorite cup. And
Yeah,
so, right tools, your software that lays on top of
got it
Quick.
too.
Yeah,
We're cup
yeah,
sibling.
yeah. I got this. I put the stickers on it from the
Yeah,
conference,
yeah.
so it's pretty. But
I have a sticker on my phone.
There
yeah,
you go. Me too, by the way. I
we're
got you
big
all matched up.
fans.
I got
Yeah,
you both matched up. I got a sticker on my
Yeah.
phone
yeah.
and you. There you go.
Because Right Tool sits on top of QuickBooks Online and makes it sync. I mean, makes it sync.
Oh, yeah. It's,
I
yeah.
mean, yeah.
You
I
don't
mean,
even
that,
know. I mean, I have it all turned on. It just does stuff for me.
yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is so cool.
I
Yeah, right.
mean,
I
Right two
recommend
was
it to
right
everyone.
two was sort of kind of a happy accident. So I never really had like the vision for what it is now. Like I never had that complete vision. The backstory is about 15 years ago. I got so frustrated with QuickBooks Desktop because I couldn't because I had so many journal entries that were made from spreadsheets. I think they were like maybe like daily, like from a restaurant's daily Z outs, where I was trying to like just create journal entries really quick, that show you your revenue, the total cash, the total credit card, and it was always like a manual process, and I always wanted to like copy and paste, what's on my spreadsheet into QuickBooks Desktop in a journal entry because that would save me so much time. Not have to use a third party app. Look, by the time you set up the third party app, you could
I
just
know.
enter the journal entry
I
manual.
know. Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know what? There has to be a way to do this. And I went out there and I went to I don't know TaskRabbit or Fiverr or one of those things where you find random people on the web that could do stuff. And I'm like, hey man, this is the problem I'm trying to solve. I'm trying to get the data on this spreadsheet. I want to copy it, and then I want to enable this tool that will, instead of pasting it, it will emulate typing it on each of the fields and clicking tab as if it was a paste. And it took us like a month, trial and error, and we finally developed. And I had an actual tool, and all the cleanup work, all the clients work. I had this little app that I ran where I could copy and paste stuff into QuickBooks Desktop into journal entries, and it was amazing until Windows upgraded to Windows 10 or something, where they
Yeah.
didn't no longer allowed
Yes.
apps to manipulate like the keyboard and stuff. So like the app was gone. It was an app that cost me maybe $1,000, but it saved me so much time.
Right.
And I tried to sell it once, but I was like, you know what, screw it. I'll just use it, and my friend will use it. And then 10 years later or whatever, I saw this guy on LinkedIn just posting some experiments that he's doing with a browser extension and doing things in QuickBooks, and I was like, wait, that button doesn't exist in QuickBooks, and I'm like, what? And he's doing things. So I text him. I'm like, hey man, I don't know you, but 15 years ago I built this app that can copy and paste into QuickBooks Desktop, and it does this, it does that. Is this something that you can do with this when you're experimenting? And if you can, how much would you charge me? And I'll definitely have you develop it. Maybe I can sell it or something. And then within 2 days, he sent me a working prototype, and I was like, what the hell? Really? 2 days to get a prototype going? And I had this it had this special feeling it's kind of like the gut feeling.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think I should hire this person. I think we should partner and build the whole thing. And then I said, hey man, you want to go into this adventure? This will be the first feature, but we're going to build a whole thing. And here's a couple other ideas that I have, and I have this bookmarks database, and I have this and I have that. And then, with 3 months of no sleeping, we built a working prototype of Right Tool. I leveraged my YouTube community and said, hey, I'm building this thing. It's on beta. If you jump in early, you'll get the first year at a fraction of the price, $150 instead of $500. We had like 300 people sign up for it in December of 2022. So that gave us $45,000 up front. And I said, Mark, quit your job, man. We're doing this, yeah, we can pay you a salary. And that's kind of like how it started. It wasn't even like that well planned. I mean,
I
the
remember
plan-
that video.
I
go to bed-
remember, yeah,
I,
there.
I go to bed with my iPad because I like to watch my iPad. And I go to bed, put it on. You popped up. Of course, I'm watching you. I go to bed with Hector. How's that?
From a distance.
And you start talking about
From a
this
distance.
right tool stuff. I got out of bed and went and signed up that minute. I mean, I've never gotten out of bed for anything except you.
Yeah, there you go. You go to bed
Yeah, I
with me, and
signed
you
up
gotta
the
get
second.
the whole thing.
I was like, "Ooh, okay,
man.
I'm in."
Hector
I
says
think
it,
like
I'm doing it.
yeah, I think it had
It was
like 8
great.
features, maybe not even that many. It
Yeah,
was,
It was
it
8
was
features.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great. It was fabulous.
No,
It
it
was
was super,
fabulous.
super fun, and it was nice that after 12 years of creating content and building a community, that that I had the credibility and the followership to go to launch a software without having to spend any marketing money. Okay, like
Right.
zero marketing money. Just go to my existing community and say, hey, give this a shot. I guarantee it. If it doesn't work, we'll refund you the money, whatever. And luckily, it
works great.
worked out, and it's still working great. And we're 3,000 plus paid customers strong, and about 25,000 people on the free version, and it's getting a lot of traction.
Great. Well, we're running on time, and you have a hard stop. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Well, I would love to ask you guys a question.
Okay.
You guys went into this endeavor of, building a cadence to create content, interview people, get the software, live stream, prepare for the show, maybe spend some time with the people afterwards to thank them, and before to prep for and tell them the questions that you're going to ask them. This takes a lot of productive time, right? So,
Yes,
So-
yes.
so my question is, what's the reward? Like, what have you learned from this? What looking back and going back a year and a half and deciding to do it again, to not doing it. What is the reward that you've got from doing this?
You go first, Donna.
So I always had a dream in my head that we could bring bookkeepers behind the shadows like I was for many years. And they all had voices, and there was more of them than the software companies, the app companies recognized out there. Bring their voices forward. So I always had that dream in my head. And I always wanted to start a YouTube just for fun. And I have a different one that I do for fun, and a podcast too. And then the world's a lot. I tried with a couple different people. I just always wanted to do it and just learn how to do it while I was doing it. I wasn't going for perfection. A couple people I tried it with didn't work out so well. Deb walked up to me one day at Intuit Connect and said, or at QuickBooks Connect, sorry, and said, "Do you want to do something together?" And when I regained myself after having been asked by Deb, um, and I turned around and went, "Oh my God!" I said yes, and then it took me 3 more months to contact her back, and then we launched within like a couple days, I think. I said, "Oh, I have a solution." I texted her a solution to get started and hit go and start. That was it. But it started with the dream in my head that like we could bring more people like us out of the shadows and introduce them to the world and give them a voice where they
Right.
felt like they might not have had a voice before, and bring more people out and give them voices to the community and let people know that there are people doing amazing things behind the scenes for business owners and for the community. That's always been my dream. It's still my dream. I think we can do more and more to bring people out. We don't have an organization. There's no like bookkeepers community like an
There's a
actual
couple out there,
professional,
but there's
or
no like
yeah,
a
but not a
government
professional
professional.
organization that
People
does
think of
stuff
CPAs
for,
and accountants and,
yeah,
like, and then they say, oh, and then there's bookkeepers. In fact, there was a post on LinkedIn this week
yeah.
that I got really mad. The guy said, Michael King, he was a fractional CFO,
Oh, yeah.
and he said, bookkeepers are killing the industry.
That's so
I
great.
about went nuts.
Yeah.
It's like doctors saying nurses are calling
Yes,
in the industry. Like nurses do the most vital stuff in medicine.
exactly.
And I think that CPAs and bookkeepers is kind of the same thing. Like the CPAs kind of take a lot of the credit for none of the work that they do at the
Exactly.
very end, and the bookkeepers are,
Yeah.
like you said, like in the shadows, doing the hard
Right.
work, putting in the
Right.
work,
They're the
and
engine.
somebody's
They're the
taking
engine
them.
of
Yeah,
Right.
businesses.
I agree.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, and I wanted to, what I learned from this was that I have a sister on the East Coast. We just have different mothers.
West Coast. I'm on the West
Oh, West
Coast.
Coast. I'm on the East Coast.
Yeah, yeah.
And that it's so it's a lot of fun. But you're right, it's a lot of work. I mean, we
It's a
get
lot of
together
work.
every Saturday for. We were on together last Saturday for 4 hours, talking about ideas and concepts and all that stuff. Of course, maybe we could be like Carlos and talk less, but
Yeah,
we do enjoy each other's company, which is good. And then, of course,
that's
we do
great.
this, and then we have the podcast, and we're not doing this for the money. Of course, if we made $1 million, we wouldn't turn it down.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, it's
no.
probably
We have
negative money.
donations.
It's
We
negative
get
money at this
donations.
point, right? With the
Yeah,
opportunity
yeah, oh
cost.
yeah.
We
Yeah.
have no
Um,
sponsors. This is
no
organically
sponsors.
grown because we believe in the mission of making people feel important, which
Yeah.
is always our goal, to be kind, make them feel important, and to learn, and that people matter. So, but
What
that's,
Ron Baker would say, helping the bookkeeper profession flourish.
Yes. And
yes,
and help them move forward to the future and
right.
the way that things are changing rapidly, and
Right. And to
just
think
bringing
different.
more
I
of that
want
to
them
the
to think
front. Yeah.
differently. To think
Yes.
differently. That's
Yeah.
my big thing too.
Think differently or look at things. My favorite quote that I kind of closed the first, I closed both reframes with this quote, and I'll close this one like that too, because it is the embodiment of reframe. It's always been my favorite quote. Is by Wayne Dyer, which is, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Right.
And I tell my kids all the
Exactly.
time, it's like,
Beautiful.
the world might be abstractly or structurally what you think it is, but the minute you apply meaning to it, it's different. It's much
Right.
different. So things are whatever you want them to be at the end of
Right.
it.
Well, I know you have a hard stop
I do.
right now.
Yeah.
So we want to thank you for taking the time and spend
Thanks
all
for
this
having me.
time with us.
Thanks for having me.
So again, we'll let you go, and we will see you. Maybe again, we'll have you on. But thank you so much, and I can't wait to see you in November at ReFrame.
Likewise.
And
Thank you.
all right,
Continue doing what you're doing. It's great.
thanks,
Thank
Hector.
you.
Bye bye.